Good evening and a very warm welcome to this edition of The Big Debate on CTV. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel, coming to you on this third day of August 2022. Welcome to a new month and a new edition of the show. Well, if you'd like to contribute to our conversation today, which I'll be introducing to you in a very short while, remember we use the hashtag CTV Big Debate. Well, four political parties represented in Parliament have agreed to work together. These parties come from the opposition and they were joined by a pressure group. This follows a recent agreement, a cooperation agreement between the Democratic Party, represented by its Chairman General, the Honorable Norbert Mao, and the NRM, represented by its chairperson, who is also the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Well, this also follows the by-election in Soroti East, where the opposition that had decided to rally behind the Honorable Atan has been complaining that they were cheated. Now, the forces of change, as they're calling themselves, have come together to create the kind of change that they believe they'll be able to achieve together, which they couldn't do on their own. What does this mean for multi-party democracy? How exactly will these coalitions, these alliances, these agreements to work together, how exactly will they work? Well, our guests will dig deep into that issue tonight. We have two guests joining us. The Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda. He is the MP for Kira Municipality. He's a member of the FDC party, and this is his maiden appearance on the show and I believe on the station. Honorable Ssemujju, good evening and welcome to the Big Debate.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me.
We also have in studio a guest who's been with us maybe twice or three times before, the Honorable Chris Baryomunsi. He is the Minister for ICT and National Guidance. He's the MP for Kinkizi East. He's a member of the NRM party. Honorable Baryomunsi, good evening and welcome back to the Big Debate.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, CTV, for inviting us for this interaction.
Not too long ago, if you said somebody was from cabinet, you didn't have to add that they belong to the NRM party. But now the NRM party or cabinet seems to have many colors in it.
Yes, NRM is a multi-ideological organization, so it embraces many people. So don't be surprised if next time we appear here and Honorable Ssemujju is also a member of cabinet from FDC.
Well, I could have spoken for the Honorable Ssemujju, but I would say the Honorable Ssemujju would not accept that. But well, he's here. He'll speak for himself. Honorable Ssemujju, welcome to the show.
Never say never.
Thank you.
And in politics, you never say never. All right, Honorable Ssemujju, if you could just start us off, getting our audience to understand what exactly, the opposition or the four political parties and the pressure group are doing, together. Because where it has been called a cooperation, they've said no, it isn't. Where it's been called other names, that has been dismissed. So what exactly is this that we saw earlier this week?
I have seen a misrepresentation in a section of media. What happened on Monday was issuance of a joint statement. A joint statement that the four parties and the People's Front for Transition sign about the nature of the election, the management, and the misconduct of the ruling party during mainly the recent by-elections. I have seen some section of the media saying the opposition has now announced a new coalition working together. There were calls for unity. Because that particular press briefing on Monday was preceded by a meeting which I attended as FDC. And we reviewed the recent by-election starting with Kayunga, Omoro, and then Soroti, and how those three elections had been stolen by NRM. the suffering that we individually and collectively went through, the arrests that characterized these days the deployment of vehicles with no number plates, the working together of police and military and NRM, because for Soroti, in which I participated, at one time you saw the NRM, the chairman for the NRM internal elections, Tango Doi, being escorted at the polling station by military and police and ordering people to be arrested. So we sat together and said we need to speak jointly about this subject matter. This country deserves free and fair elections. But also, because that statement was read on our behalf by the National Unity Platform Secretary General, Mr. Rubongoya, the leaders of the respective political parties each gave comments. And I think it is these comments that the media has taken even more serious than the statement itself, because it is in these comments that the leaders called for unity. In fact, even NRM will be beneficiary of free and fair election. At a polling station called the Alewot Akum Catholic Church, people who were sent to arrest FDC agents didn't know who these FDC agents were. So they ended up arresting everybody, including Mr. Michael Emuku, who was an NRM agent. He was also released together with FDC on one police bond. They discovered later that the person they had arrested thinking FDC is NRM. So when you unleash violence, it may not know the boundaries. So therefore, there is no cooperation that we signed. There was a joint statement to speak about the elections. And we thought, because in Kayunga, the FDC did not field the candidate, the victory of Nopu was stolen. In Omoro, both of us fielded the candidates, but bribery by Nabanja was more open than it has ever been. Members of parliament were arrested. Some were even corroborated. In Soroti, it was a climax. They broke into the residence of Honorable Anna Deke and arrested everybody they found there, confiscated FDC polling material. Earlier, the FDC president was briefly detained when we were called that at Lions Club, the Honorable Nabanja was distributing money, and we found her with more than 500 people distributing money. Police was there. So the following day, it was thuggery, something I have not witnessed as a person. I remember at one time Tango Doi chasing the woman named Soroti City, the Honorable Joanna Arobo, and knocking her car. So it is what has transpired in this election that made us issue a joint statement. Before I joined the politics, I was a journalist. There were initiatives sometimes where even people who support Mr. Museveni and NRM MPs participated. That's how the forum the Parliamentary Advocacy Forum started. Parliament of Uganda has ever investigated election violence after the 2001 elections. Former Court of Appeal Judge Augustine Nshimi chaired a committee in Parliament to investigate election, and they made very, very serious recommendations. So us coming together was not to establish a joint either political electoral platform, but to jointly speak about and make demands about free and fair elections.
Okay. So
that's what happened. But there are also calls from our leaders to work together, and that's how we'll be able to force reforms. That's how we'll be able to deal with NRM, whose appetite for stealing election now has become too much.
All right. Well, the Honorable Semuju says there's no cooperation agreement signed, and this was a joint statement. We will dig deeper into that. But in your openings, remarks, you have raised a number of issues. In fact, painting some of the by-elections. If somebody followed, your words and tried to draw some mental pictures, it really wouldn't qualify as an election, some kind of war zone. And I'd like the Honorable Barrio Munsi, to give his opening, but also to respond to some of the things you raise.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the opposition in Uganda is in disarray. No attempts to cooperate, then they are not cooperating, but they would want to cooperate, so you can't even understand which is which. But this is just a knee-jerk reaction to some of the happenings which have come up in the recent. One, DP signing a cooperation agreement with NRM. It appears like DP has pulled the rug under their feet, and then also losing the Soroti City East by-election, where the opposition thought they must win it. But you see, when we go into an election, I've been standing for parliamentary seat in my constituency. But I go in with confidence, but well knowing that there is a possibility of losing. You can lose or be declared the winner. But the moment you develop an attitude that you must be the one to win, then you can easily commit suicide when they declare you a loser. And this is the tragedy with the African politics. People never concede defeat. Every person who has lost, it means he has been rigged, he has been cheated, the election hasn't been free and fair. But when the opposition wins, they don't say, they say that has been free and fair. So it appears to the opposition in Uganda, when an opposition candidate wins, then it has been free and fair. When he or she loses, then it is not free and fair. Definitely, even us, NRM, we are interested in free and fair elections. And we strive to ensure that the elections which we hold are free and fair, and the results reflect the will of the people. If you look at say Soroti, the opposition, yes, worked together, but we also have it on record that they carried the goons from Kampala and Mbale. Hundreds of them had poured them in Soroti to cause mayhem. And of course, security was on the alert. And I have said this for the umpteenth time, that during the period of electioneering, it doesn't mean police and security agencies go into hibernation. If anything, that's when they should be alert, because elections, by nature of what they are, there is a lot of heat and agitation and so forth. So there is also criminality associated with those kind of activities. So for one to think that simply because we are in the period of electioneering, if somebody breaks the law, nothing should be done, I think is not correct. And I think some of the assertions the Honorable Ibra is making are just exaggerations. Let's confront the issue of the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Prime Minister. The information available is that the agents of the NRM candidate were gathered in a hotel undergoing training. And I think part of the staff of the Prime Minister were there, but the Prime Minister was not there. Now these people in opposition, for them they imagine money is being distributed. Now they invade the hotel. I can put it to you that the Prime Minister was not there. What was going on was training of agents, because usually campaigns end 2 days before the polling day. And we do it even when Honorable Semuju is a member of parliament. Usually like on the last day, because we are not allowed to campaign, usually we organize agents, give them the letters, appointment letters, train them how to protect the vote and so forth. So there was no giving of money. Actually, even sometimes you give them their allowance because we pay these agents and it's lawful. I also know on that day, the opposition, they were also training their agents. It even appeared in the print media. There was a picture where they were training their agents. So for one to claim that simply because NRM agents were gathered in a place, therefore the Prime Minister was giving money is not.
All right. Honorable Bariomosi, unfortunately, I didn't come with the names of the two hotels.
Is there any picture which has been produced of Honorable Nabanja giving out money? I challenge Honorable Semuju to produce a photograph or a recording, because his people invaded the hotel to disrupt what was going on.
Honorable Bariomosi, yes. There are two different hotels. Yes, there's a hotel where there were agents gathered, but there was another hotel where the Prime Minister told people, meet me there. And she went over to that hotel. And that's where the opposition is claiming the bribery took place.
So meet me there. If I say, Gabriel, after the show, let's meet there. That's not a crime. If I was a member of the opposition, I would have gadgets, either a camera or a recorder. If the Prime Minister is giving out money, I photograph that person. Then I would say, here, what was she doing?
All right, speaking
but
of...
simply because the Prime Minister said, meet me here. If I thought she said it, then I was not in Soroti. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's calling them for bribery.
Okay. Speaking of, evidence and, video and documentary evidence, there is a video recorded by the Honorable Adeke, Anne Adeke, yes, of people breaking into her house. She posted that on social media. The Honorable Ibrahim Semuju Nganda raised that in Parliament today. And yes, he has raised that as, part of the, the violence that took place during the election. You say the laws are not suspended when we're having elections. The evidence is available. It is there.
Yes.
Is there anything
I don't
that has
think
been
police
done
is
in
denying having arrested or accessed her accommodation or her house and arresting her, because even Honorable Semuju has raised it in the Parliament. Actually, he brought a comical part that the president of FDC was in the house of the woman MP, the MP at 3 a.m. Then the Prime Minister was saying, what was the president of FDC, who is an energetic man, doing in the room of the Honorable Adeke at 3 a.m. that attracted the police to come and invade the house. That was a later moment, but I don't think police is denying having arrested. But you see, I don't think there is a law which says if police suspects that you are committing a crime or about to commit a crime, and it's at 3 a.m., there is no law which says you should wait and do the arrest the following day. Police, the law authorizes police to access any place and cause an arrest if, in their opinion, in their judgment, they think a crime is about to be committed or a crime is being committed. Yes.
Committing a crime in your own home?
Yes.
All right.
You can kill a person in your own house. That will justify the killing. You can rape or defile somebody in your own house. That make it lawful simply because your own house. You can commit a crime. Even you are a work of this studio, you can commit a crime in this studio. And if in the opinion of police, they see that there is a crime, the law, the constitution authorizes police to take action.
All right.
What would challenge police to do is that prepare the files and adduce evidence and take them to court.
All right. Just one more in relation to what the Honorable Semuju raised, and that is in relation to, yes, those arrests were police went ahead and conducted those arrests. Those were arrests of the opposition. He has raised, issues of members of the NRM also breaking the law to the extent that they're even knocking people's cars, threatening violence. Have those ones been arrested?
I think it would be wrong for police to arrest the members of one party, or let's say opposition alone, if they are members of NRM committing similar or other crimes. They should also be arrested. Like he has said, some of the agents who were arrested included an NRM member. So why would you want
that was mistaken identity?
Hold on. Why would you quickly exonerate that NRM member and declare him or her innocent? What if he had also committed a crime and the police had to arrest the person? So I think it is not correct to say if they arrest an NRM person, then it must be by mistake. Because the police should be able to arrest anybody, not based on your political party, but based on whether you have broken the law or not.
All right.
Yes.
We have been joined by the Honorable Engineer Richard Sewamala, MP, Bukoto Central. He's a member of the Democratic Party. Honorable, good evening and welcome to the big debate.
Good evening to our viewers and good evening to my seniors.
The self-imposed president.
I am learning that you may be a president of a political party,
yes,
but also that the DP has the good DP and the bad DP. You being president, does it mean you're president of the bad DP?
Yeah.
There's a president of what is being called the good DP.
I'm on the bad DP.
All right, welcome to
All right.
the show.
Thank
Well, our conversation is really about this agreement of the opposition to work together. And of course, the context is about a week ago, the Democratic Party, committed by its president, the good one, signed a cooperation agreement with the NRM. And well, let's begin from this point. When the opposition parties represented in Parliament were reading this statement and committing to working together, the Democratic Party was not present, was not represented, and yet the Democratic Party is an opposition party in the 11th Parliament. How come you were not represented at that press conference?
One, being that we are not in touch with the convener, with the party president of NOP, His Excellency Bobby Wine stroke Kyagulanyi Sentamu. We are not privy. Of course, the reasons are obvious. The cooperation agreement that we made between, that was made, not the one we made, but that was made by the President General Norbert Mao and Siranda with the ruling government. That puts us in a balance where they don't know where we belong. So ordinarily that is it. That means they also don't understand the agreement like we all don't understand it. Two, my personal view is the opposition should go beyond such alliances. In the times when I used to watch the news and the Honorable Minister was the side, and Honorable Semuju was in that side.
Was on which side? Bringing you the news?
Opposition side.
Okay.
The opposition side.
I've been
But-
in NRM since I joined the
No,
party.
but on the side where he was an activist of. There are things that he wanted to see change.
The ones they used to call the rebels.
Yeah, the time when they called
I was
him
a
a
very
rebel.
active backbencher.
A very active backbencher. He was in NRM, but very objective, and then also the times when we used to watch them. There are the times when they told me that even though they had different parties, they used to convene in the canteen every evening just to discuss their next course of action for what has happened and how business should be conducted in the house and what exactly the direction of the country they want to take. So now, for me, I strongly believe that over the years, opposition has been voting. It transformed from DP to Reform Agenda, from Reform Agenda to FDC a couple of times, and it is the same opposition that has transformed to NOP. If you see the percentages by which we used to win, the percentages are the same. You don't find a very big difference between the percentage in say 2001 and the percentage today.
This is in relation to the representation of the opposition in Parliament vis-a-vis that of the NRM.
Even presidency. Because now our utmost focus is
general elections.
General elections.
Okay.
Winning general elections as for presidency and for presidency and, of course, parliamentarians. But if you looked at the trend, at the curve, the opposition numbers are increasing with an increasing population, meaning that the strategies that we are supposed to be using today to avert or to work against the NRM are more than just a cooperation. Because if you looked at the people that were not voted, or the small votes that were gotten by these other opposition MPs, these are opposition, candidates, say Katumba, my President Mao, who got 150,000, and the rest, whoever was in the race, if you added them to the winning opposition candidate, we would still not win. So now, is the strategy still cooperation to work together, or we need to really change the strategy? So as much as I was not invited, I didn't see Honorable Semju there either.
But he informed us that he was in the meeting that led up to that press conference.
Yeah. So for me, my main, as much as that cooperation was signed, or memorandum of understanding was signed, I want to see more of what can attract the opposite side, that is the NRM, into the opposition. I don't know whether you came to.
Wait.
I seem to have realized.
So the NRM is inviting the opposition to
what
come
for me,
and
what
work
I want to
with
see, what
the
I want
NRM.
to see.
You're saying the opposition should also be asking the NRM to come and work.
I want to
with
see more people leaving the NRM, joining the opposition. I want to see mechanisms that whatever is happening in Soroti will not happen again. I'm one person that has tasted some little salt from the NRM when I was standing against the vice president. So I knew they had to rig the elections. I knew there is going to be violence. I knew there is going to be this. I know they were going to change. They had to gerrymandering of boundaries. They got a whole sub-county where I come from, where my home is, and my residence, and added it to the city. So I remained with the 2 months, actually, 2 months to elections, meaning I had, a constituency where I don't have even a pinch of soil. So, all these things, we should be able to sit down as the opposition and anticipate what is going to happen in these elections, and then start ground mobilization of how we are going to avert these things early enough. That does not mean that whatever they did is illegal and should not be condemned. It should be condemned, but me and you know, unless we are lying to each other, but me and you know, this is what is going to happen in the next election. It's going to be violent.
Right.
They are going to use money.
Yes.
They are going to raid people's homes.
The opposition parties that came together, Honorable Semuju tells us today that they came together to make sure that in the future, these things don't happen in the elections. He says, yes, this was a joint statement, but it was in light of these past 3 by-elections, Kayunga, Omoro, and Soroti. Well, now, you have declared yourself president.
Yes.
Are you going to bring your team to join these forces?
Yes, of course. Of course. Everyone to become president needs 50+1. So whichever president that wants to become president of that wants to stand against His Excellency Museveni, if he's in the race in 2026, I don't know. But if he is, must get 50+1. That means that person needs a coalition with other parties more than even the people, the smaller group themselves.
All right.
So if I was the one standing today, I would be calling up to everyone that even if they just declare one day that they're opposition, I would just add them to the group.
Come and join us. All right, Honorable Semuju. Yes, you raised that the intention was different. You had a joint statement. That statement was read. And then the principals went ahead and made, further statements, further clarifications. And that is what many people are latching on to. Those further statements about the cooperation of the opposition, are there processes going on? Because some of the principals said, we are going to continue these, processes. is there a process in motion to actually formally, you know,
before I come
sign
to that,
and work together?
I think if being a minister for communication means speaking the way the Honorable Bariomuns is doing, it's a job I'll decline if we win government.
Are you saying you would take another job in government, in the NRM government?
The good thing is you're not about to win.
When we win government.
Oh, okay. You wouldn't be willing to take that if that's what it means.
It's a job I'll decline. He says there were goons imported from Kampala and from Mbale. The people who were arrested, you had the FDC president arrested, Engineer Patrick Amriat. You had members of parliament arrested, including Honorable Stella Isodo, she's woman MP Ngora, and a number of FDC leaders. The Honorable Nzo is FDC Deputy President from Kasese. Margaret Wokuri is FDC Chairperson Mbale, and a number of others, including maybe what the Honorable Bariomuns forgets is that FDC is a political party. If you have an election in which political parties are competing, they are going to bring people from all over the country. The FDC Women League leader was there, there was from Barara. You will certainly have them because you are a political party.
Same for the NRM. They had leaders from all over the country.
Yeah. Maybe to Honorable Bariomuns, FDC leaders are goons because they are the ones you arrested. They are the ones. They are the ones
played smarter than leaders.
They are the ones that you are releasing. Then why did you arrest the leaders? The NRM people were very honorable. Karangwa, I am not going to find out to which party I hear is NRM chairman Kayunga. When they came to break into Honorable Anadeke's house, he was the one who was commanding police. I don't know whether he has become a DPC somewhere. These things, you can't rationalize them when you're a leader. You can't. Once you rationalize, because you see, our aspiration as a country is to have credible elections. It's the whole idea why why iPod was formed. Maybe I need to remind the Honorable Chris Bariomunsi, and together with my brother, the Honorable Sebamara, Ghana, which has changed leaders, I think now about 4 times, was running a similar outfit. But they sat together as a country and said, we will now henceforth need to have credible elections. Because jail-roaring was not different from Mr. Museveni. Jailing his opponents the same way you see Dr. Westje being arrested every day, by the way, a founder of this movement. But they said as a country there must be a cut-off point. We need to have credible elections. They made a new constitution, introduced term limits, and when J. Roaring served 2 terms, he supported his deputy who lost the election. They peacefully handed over. NRM people have gone to Ghana to study, but they really must be very bad students. In fact, one of the things that shocked Ghanaians was the presence of military people in parliament. A group led by your former Secretary General, the Honorable Kaswele Mumba, went to Ghana. The Malawi went through similar scenario under Kamuzubanda. The coming into power of Bakiri Muruzi was an understanding that they also need to have a cut-off point. And nearly most of the countries in the south, Kenya itself had problems under Moi. But they said, no, we need term limits, we need to begin having credible elections. We are the only ones here. Maybe in Rwanda there are no elections, so the elections in Rwanda are just a show. But we are not far away from Rwanda. From 2003, I was a journalist. When some changes were made, including allowing political parties to begin operating in Uganda, the whole idea was that we need as a country to have free, fair, and that's why we put it in the constitution. We put it in the different laws that governing elections in Uganda. It is meaningless for a person I respect, because I respect Variomus. People I don't respect, I will tell you, him I respect him.
I know.
To try to whitewash the thuggery that happened in Soroti and blame it on the victims. People do it. I remember when Dr. Besigye was near killed at Morogo roundabout. Government spokesperson at that time said it was Besigye who had a hammer and wanted to hit policemen. What happened in Soroti was witnessed by the media. We are not the witness. And that's why you are referring the minister to videos that have been circulating. It was witnessed by everybody, by people from Soroti, even by the NRM itself. The other day I was speaking to the new MP for Moro, the son of late Jacob Olanya. They met with the MP for Chitugum, Honorable Onekariti Amere, at a polling station. Both of them met. At that polling station, some NRM people came and grabbed 4 booklets of ballots. And you can ask the son of Olanya. I had a conversation with him yesterday, both with the Honorable Amere. At 8 o'clock, the box was nearly full. FDC agents had been arrested and taken away, but the UPC agent wasn't arrested. In his book, we had only 12 people who had voted. The presiding officer here, and we have a video of that presiding officer saying, yeah, they came here, they confiscated the ballots, because each booklet has 50 ballots, ticked all of them, and stuffed them. So the things that happened in Soroti are things that should worry anyone who care about Uganda. And we are not the victim. I can tell you the FDC is not a victim. When Parliament was enacting this law on public meetings,
public order management,
the Honorable Mambabazi, who hails from Kanungu, I was suspended together with many other colleagues, because we said this law is bad and NRM was going to misuse it. The Honorable Mambabazi wanted me subjected to disciplinary hearing for opposing a bad law. A few months later, he was being arrested under the same law in Jinja by late Kawesa. Something that is bad universally will be bad. And I salute the courage of Honorable Kurisi Wariomunsi that he can come here and say, these people, they brought guns, when they lose, they say, sometimes you can lose an election, even when there is some cheating, you can still win an election. The first election I have ever participated in as a person was the Honorable Betty Namboze's by-election in Mukono. There is a polling station that was reported. Turn-up was 100%. And Bakaluba Mukasa is now no, but he was NRM. The 100% turn-up was all for Bakaluba Mukasa. Fortunately, it gave him just about 600 votes, and Honorable Namboza defeated him by 2,400 votes. Where we win doesn't mean there is no cheating, but it's also possible that cheating is not going to be everywhere. For example, in all the elections I have participated in, I have been lucky that I have been winning almost at each and every polling station. The last election, I'll tell you, in my constituency, I didn't see any effort by the NRM to steal election. I didn't see it.
Do you steal yourself?
I don't have to steal. You can come and cross-check. So even someone who steals, who cheats elections, even Anna Obote, because in 1980, the 1980 UPM denounced the results and went to fight in the jungles of Ruwero. It is not, because they are also, because that election of 1980, I may not recall the figures properly, but UPC had about 70 MPs, 70 something, and DP had about 60 something. It doesn't mean that UPC went in each and every constituency stealing the election. And in all the subsequent elections. So the Honorable Chris Williams must understand, when I am complaining about cheating in Soroti, it doesn't mean that there was cheating in his own constituency. So therefore, you may need to remind me the question. I thought was important to make that.
Can I just have Honorable Williams respond to that very quickly, then I will remind you of the question.
Yeah.
First of all, I have it on good authority.
And today the the Electoral Commission chairperson was in Parliament,
yes,
and he apologized for the sins in Soroti East.
No problem. Of course, as a public officer, you can always take responsibility, not necessarily that you are guilty, but first of all, the issue of goons. I am not just speaking recklessly. Who are the people who attacked the hotel where there was suspicion that the Right Honourable Prime Minister was giving money? They were led by the leaders, but there was a group of these people they had brought from Kampala. Who are the people who actually roughed up the vice chairperson of the Electoral Commission and even stole her bags from the vehicle? Are they the leaders? These are people who had been carried from Kampala and Mbali and even surrounding areas. So I am not just merely recklessly speaking, I have it on good authority. And it is a habit of the opposition. Okay, I can drop the word goons to carry their urban supporters to different constituencies, especially to cause mayhem.
But the NRM also carries supporters, don't you?
No, we carry leaders.
Only leaders?
Take leaders, yes. We don't get people from Kampala to just take them to Moro, to take them to Teso, no. Yes, various leaders go.
Let me just use an example. Yes. When you have a person like the famous Balam, is he there as an NRM leader?
Where was he?
He's an influencer.
In Omoro, for example?
Balam was a man who organizes this public address system, Vivuru man. So sometimes they hire him for the public address, for the events, but there's no problem. Have you had him involved in the criminal activities where he goes? So I want to insist that the opposition in Uganda has a habit of carrying their urban supporters, especially from Kampala, to take different constituencies.
Can I ask you, if you don't mind?
Please.
Why do you arrest the agents and you don't arrest those goons?
No. Arrests are based on suspicion that you are committing a crime. It doesn't mean if you carry...
You seem to have it on authority that there are goons who are creating mayhem and they were carried there to do exactly that.
But they are taken there purposely to cause mayhem.
And the question the Honorable Semuju is asking is, but when you arrest the leaders instead of arresting the goons,
the police
or the so-called goons.
That's why I was saying that maybe goons played smarter than the leaders.
All right.
So the police arrests those they suspect to be committing a crime. Being a leader doesn't make you immune to arrests if in the wisdom of police they think you are committing a crime.
All right. Let me come back to Honorable Semuju, and the question was in relation to whether there...
But on the issue of Uganda and so forth, each country has its own history. When you see the army in the parliament in Uganda, our history is different from that of Uganda. So whatever you see is shaped by our own history.
So when we go to benchmark, what exactly are we going to do?
You don't have to swallow whatever you find there. You can pick lessons which work for you.
You benchmark where you've seen something good, right? So when you go and see how they achieved that good,
no, like
at
for
the very
instance,
least, shouldn't you?
The presence of the army in parliament. The history of Uganda is different from the one of Uganda. And there is a reason why the army is in the parliament. And actually there is a provision in the constitution that after every 5 years, we should review whether the interest groups are still relevant. So simply
and
because...
for our case, we still find the presence of the
simply
army
because Ghana doesn't have
in parliament as
doesn't have their army in parliament,
Okay.
doesn't mean necessarily that we must remove ours.
All right.
We have to examine our own history and the justification why the army was brought to parliament.
All right. Honorable Semuju, the question was in relation to,
No,
whether
the
there are actual moves to have cooperation.
What the Honorable Chris Warium says, if you read the preamble of Uganda's constitution, it starts in the same fashion. Knowing our history, we will now have a constitution where leaders will not cling on power, etc., etc.
It's not there.
I am just paraphrasing.
That's creating a
So
confusion.
that whole that whole preamble to the constitution,
Yes.
knowing what we had gone through,
Yes.
was exactly because of the history. And you remember when we were in Mbale, when we took Parliament to court for changing the constitution of Uganda, the justification for history went away.
No, actually,
And,
that if I can
and
also
the argument,
comment.
and the argument they were making when they were removing term limits, age limit, things have changed. It was no longer history.
Actually, if I can comment, that history, that part of the constitution also addresses having leaders who are not being elected. Because you know, from
There
independence.
is nothing like election.
No. I am
Okay,
also
Mr.
paraphrasing now for you.
Okay.
You see, from independence,
Yes.
1986, we had over 9 presidents. But we had elections twice, 1962 April and December 1980. But we changed the presidents. So it also speaks to having leaders in power who are not being elected.
All right. There's Honorable Semuju, just because I have a very, a few minutes before we go to the break, and if you begin on that question, you will get cut. Let me bring Honorable Sebamala in relation to, the violence that we see in the elections and the blame game, where, each side says, no, it's the fault of the other side. They're the ones who are playing unfair.
It's not a blame game. It is actually what really happened. And everyone is telling the other, this is what you did to us, and the other is saying, this is what you did to us. But for me, I would want to employ my senior on the character of our state at the moment. The state, not the government, but the character of the state. You can look through how we have transformed from the bush. Then we had no elections. How was the president and the army and the police acting then? Then when we started elections, how is the police, the army, and the leaders, how are they behaving now? How were they behaving then? Then after several elections to this one, what is the character of the state today as pertains elections? Gone are the times when ministers and some public officials would not move with even the army. You don't even need the police. The country was secure. Decisions were being made on merit. You can also go back and look at the character of the state when Amin was president, even when we were not there and we were very young. But they will tell you it was brutal. The character of the state was dictatorial. Then you go to Obote's regime and they'll tell you this is what happened. He was modest, but he was like this and like this. I don't know whether you get that. The police used to be like this in Obote's regime.
I believe that's why one artist sang, Vizemu or something like that.
And all those things. Now, when we come to the character of the state today, the character is a mixture of what happened within those governments that we feel was not proper for them to come back to, for them to come and redeem the country or to redeem the government. So now, what happens is, if we talk about dictatorial tendencies, we've seen them happen in a few instances here and there. Directives, even some things are unlawful and somehow we shun them off. Then we can also look at the way whether dictatorial tendencies are there. Yes, they are there. Sometimes, when you look at whether democracy exists, and they say democracy would exist by consensus. Democracy is either by voting or consensus. So somebody will say, no, this one will be vice president for the party forever. These positions are not. These ones are appointed. These ones are not. You understand? So you find the result. So the character of our state is deteriorating It is not improving. That is why formerly, today we were at Parliament, and I remember I told you, Honorable Yomos, that when you look at which region is more prepared for presidency, you would say these people had a governor, they have had ministers in government, they have had a prime minister, they have had this, so they are best suited and best, suited for being Chigezi region. It has had a governor, it has had a prime minister, it has had ministers, it has had, you'd think they are best prepared for the next government. You understand? But then when you look at the rate at which things are going, they are going to Omoro. Now the alliances are between Ankole and Acholi. So tomorrow the paradigm has shifted to northern Uganda. It has shifted to the opposition.
All right.
You're seeing people being voted, in FDC as speakers, deputy speakers. Then somebody is given what? DP has been given, what is it?
Justice and Constitutional
Affairs. So the paradigm is now even shifting.
You don't even know your president's
We even don't know what
docket.
is going to happen next. You understand? So
All right.
the character of the state.
Our position in the queue.
No, I'm saying.
I hope you are not
The
encouraging
character-
Honorable
what we are
Bayogosi
saying-
to try his,
But what is he going to up to next? You find that the character of our state is no longer predictable, and it is not improving. It is worsening. If you look at what is happening, you find that the next election, it will be a do or die. Honorable Chris is laughing because he knows next election is going to be blood.
All right, I have to pause you right there, gentlemen, and our dear viewers. We need to take a break at this point, but after the break, we do continue the conversation. So stay tuned.
This is CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us here on the Big Debate. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel, and today we're looking at, moves for political actors to come together. The latest being what they're calling the opposition or the forces of change coming together or agreeing to work together. Some people have called it cooperation, alliance, but the Honorable Semuju tells us, it was just an agreement to work together. And yes, Honorable Sewamala told us an MOU. But our three guests, the Honorable Richard Sewamala, engineer, he is from Bukoto Central, and a member of the DP, Democratic Party. I need to add the bad DP, because there's now a good DP. The Honorable Chris Bariomunsi, Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Kinkizi East Member of Parliament from the NRM, and finally, the Honorable Semuju Nganda, just from near here, Kira Municipality. He is from the FDC party. Well, what we're talking about today, I am aware that certain people may not have followed it in the news, and therefore the technical team has put just brief clips together so that you get some context of what we're discussing. Then I will come to Honorable Semuju, because this also sets up the question that I had put to him before we went for the break. Let's watch this.
Elections must be free and fair, short of which they are not fit to be called elections. Going forward, we shall jointly or severally use any upcoming elections to organize and rally the population to defend their democratic rights and end the election madness that has bedeviled our country since independence.
Let's bury our differences and rescue this country from the precipice. We rescue this country from the cliff. We are sitting on a time bomb as a nation.
So the struggle that the country must undertake is to regain power, to regain influence in the country. That's the struggle, to shift power from those who captured it to those who don't have it.
The constitution of this Republic of Uganda is on our side. And we invite Ugandans to firmly stand with us, and all of us who are before you here, we want to speak with one voice. We want to sing in unison that enough is enough.
It's that there is impunity. Those with the power override whatever law is there. They do what they want.
Depend on only leaders, don't depend on only politicians. You've seen politicians sell out. Now think about those who are following Mao. So don't over-depend on just the politicians. I want to believe that most of Ugandans know now where we want to go. Play a role, lead from whatever angle, from whatever position you are. Lead your people to where you want them to go.
All right, there you are. Honorable Semuju, a question was asked, why are you there? Well, the video clip shows that you are more than there. You're actually in the background of almost every clip.
I was the MC.
You are the MC. Excellent. Well, how far are these forces ready to go? Because it's already being imputed that come the next by-elections, the opposition will be, or at least these parties that agreed, will be fielding one candidate.
We will play our role as political institutions, but stabilizing a country and giving it credible elections is a responsibility that go beyond political institutions. I was working at Monta newspaper when Mr. Museveni changed the constitution, bribed members of parliament in 2004, 5,
the infamous 5 million.
Yes. The Monta took a decision that as a newspaper we will not support the removal of term limits. I was assigned to do research and show the danger that the country would face if Mr. Museveni succeeded in changing the constitution to stay in power. The media, this is your job as well. I remember when the Honorable Kyagulanyi was taking a petition to the UN Human Rights Commission, and journalists were corroborated. Andrew Mwenda wrote, he said the journalists should not cry. This is how NRM operates. Today was just your day. I may not have put it in the words that he used. Where leaders have been restrained in Malawi, because Bakiri Muruzi, after 10 years, he wanted the constitution changed so he can die in office. The whole country, including the religious leaders, said, please, you can't. The same applied with Chiruba in Zambia, neighboring Zambia. He also wanted the constitution changed so he can die in office. The whole country, led by religious leaders, said, please, you cannot. In Nigeria, Obasanjo was stopped by, among others, including his deputy, the vice president. They said, please, you can't change the constitution. So the stability that you see in other countries is not stability that has been brought about by only political institution.
Let me preempt.
So the question.
Let me preempt Dr. Bariomunsi's, interjection there.
Yes.
That the history of those countries is different, and ours is different, and that is why we've taken the direction we've taken.
I'm not talking about one country. I have told you Malawi. I have told you Zambia. I have told you Nigeria. The list is endless. Even Kenya here. So Uganda is not an island that for you to have a president. You saw what happened in Zimbabwe. I have never been to Zimbabwe, but I've been told by people who have visited Zimbabwe that at one time the economy of Zimbabwe was better than South Africa. But that country was messed up by Mugabe, who said he would die a president, who started fairly well as a revolutionary leader. Mr. Museveni has now a whole new outfit. Ask yourself, the people with whom they went to wage a war in Ruwero, one by one fell out, from Kategaya to Mushega to Vesije to Muntu, and they were all crying, please, this is not the reason we went to fight. We will need to hand over power, we will need to have free, we will need to have credible elections, we will need to have strong institutions. That's how you stabilize a country. So when you ask how far, yes, we will play our role as political institutions. I now want to invite everybody, including those who are in NRM, because I keep telling people, I don't have a sole responsibility to sort out this country. I am only making a contribution. We all live here. The people that you see speaking for NRM today, they will be crying tomorrow, and you have seen them cry. I have told you, Mama Mbabazi was in the parliament saying Semuju should face disciplinary action because he opposed the
public order management enactment of the public
and I
order
got
management
suspended
act.
because of opposing it. He was being arrested under the same law. Where we are now, I had thought at one time, even before I joined politics, that the country will collectively deal with Mr. Museveni, who is addicted, who thinks that he must die in office.
Right.
The people you see misbehaving, majority of them are captives who can only hold on to their positions by misbehaving. I saw a tweet attributed to the president of his party, who said people you saw people you saw misbehaving in Soweto, it's not that they are foolish, but the conditions require that for you to keep a position, you must act foolish. And keep asking yourself. One of the things that I will never forget is Professor Chidu Makubuya. Professor Chidu Makubuya was the faculty dean, faculty of law at Makerere. And I am told I have never done law. Most of the books that students were using at Makerere were authored by him. You remember the legal opinion he was giving? Because so that's where we are now. So we will make a contribution. You have asked, yes, we will make contribution. Others will come and make a contribution. The aim remains the same.
All right.
I only want to invite everybody. When you see us at Altar Africana signing a statement and issuing it jointly, it is not that now we are appropriating the role of changing Uganda to ourselves. We are only providing leadership. Even Variomunsi has a duty.
All right.
This man you see here,
you're being very careful.
This man here was also a victim at one time. I went to see him at Ginger Road when he had been denied even slippers when he was our commissioner at Parliament. So everybody,
I think if there is a time that the Honorable Bariomusi is reminded of, it is that period.
Yes.
But Honorable Semuju, you're being very careful not to, say the extent to which the opposition, or at least these parties, are going to work together. But the principals have spoken about it. The Honorable Sebamala has even, in his opening remarks, said he wants to see the opposition even do more, even go further. How come this is something that you can't just outrightly say? That,
you see, the opposition...
Because, for example, there's going to be a by-election somewhere in Palisa. And the way I understand it, the FDC has decided to support the NUP candidate.
I don't want to mislead the public. Even if the opposition worked together and you faced the same hurdles that we face today, the results are going to be the same.
Okay.
And I don't agree with many people say you must change. There is no strategy to change. We just have to fight as a country to have credible elections.
Okay.
And that fight must involve everybody.
Okay.
Recently I saw religious leaders clamoring for a dialogue, and I think they were sorted by Mr. Museveni. The Catholic Church went to start a circle, gave them money. Mubaji was given something. Let me tell you, Chris said we have a different history. I agree we have. But without the involvement of everybody, it will be difficult. I was in Sudan, I saw. The uprising was led not by the political institutions against Bashir, who was as strong as Museveni in Libya. So there are two options on the continent where people have sat down and agreed that we should collectively take this direction. Things have smoothly worked out. Where they have refused, you end up with Libya, with Sudan, with Congo. It's just a matter of time. And all the leaders will be tempted to think they are strong. I remember one time when the president was meeting younger MPs, used to meet 10-10 in Ntungamo. One of them asked him if there was a lesson for him to learn from Gaddafi, and he said Gaddafi was foolish. How can Europeans come and bomb your country and you can't bring down one aircraft? So each African leader who wants to cling on power thinks he's wiser and he will succeed. So we can only plead with our colleagues because some of them are intelligent, they are good people. But as Mao said, if that tweet was not a fabrication, that the conditions are now forcing them to act foolish when they are not foolish.
Right. Honorable Sebamala, well, in your view, how should the forces of change, come together if necessary, and where does the public fit in this whole equation?
One, the forces of change are supposed, of course there's a coalition, but I want it to be more evident. I don't want to see what is happening. What
we know at the moment is there's no coalition. Okay,
the memorandum of understanding of sorts. There is what is happening in is it Chisoro, where there is a by-election at the moment. We have FDC and NUP in the same election. Kasese. Where my friend this short man.
Yes, that's Kasese.
That's Kasese. That I would want to see them actually starting there by saying, you know what, let's go here, and now this is a strong candidate. Let's go and organize our ground structures. Let's go and organize. Let's go and map out let's first go and look at the voters register. Let's go and map out the polling stations. Let us increase voter awareness in on the day of voting. Let us train our polling agents. Let us, this is something that we should be doing jointly together.
Well, I'm telling you that the FDC and the NUP are doing that, because the FDC just tweeted a couple of hours ago that, we therefore are following the collaboration. The NUP and the FDC FDC has withdrawn our candidate to offer support to Okoboy Joseph Opolot, the NUP candidate in the Gogonyo County by-election in Palisa district, due to take place on 11th of August. I believe this is the next one.
Now that is what I want. Now, after withdrawing, now go and create voter awareness. Go down and get to know the loopholes of where they are of how they can reach these elections.
Honorable Semuju says that is not enough. The political parties,
importantly, we shall have one.
Cannot,
the problem is not. Honorable Semuju can attest to this, that the problem is not that the votes are not there. The voters are there, and they're winning, and we can win. The problem is the rigging at the end, and the arrests and everything. Now that is what we are supposed to go and guard against.
You probably were not here for this comment. The Honorable Chris Bariomusi says, you see, the opposition will, first of all, when you go into an election, you expect to win or to lose. Those are the only two options. And he says, the opposition, if they lose, cry foul, like that was not an option.
There's no problem with crying foul if there is a reason for us to cry foul. You understand? Don't give us a reason to cry foul. Don't deploy the army, don't deploy these, don't reach votes, don't arrest the people at the polling stations. Don't give us reason to cry foul. So what I'm saying is, what the coalition is bringing is, after all that mobilization, what is going to happen if you call upon the people to protect their own vote, and you rally them against any election malpractice? You're either going to see violence that is going to lead to some death in that election, or you're going to see the best person win. Because the population is stronger than the army and the police and all that. I have used it, I have witnessed it, I have seen. I had over 10,000 people at the polling center, at the declaration center of my election. Over 10,000. I had 5 J-fangs of red top. You could not even see them. They would actually get swallowed up by the numbers of the people that were everywhere. All you had to tell them is, don't be violent, just keep quiet, just wait for the last hour. These are human beings, and
chase them as police.
You can't. I'm telling you. Remember, the election was all over the country, and
the dynamics of the general election is a bit different from that of the by-elections. The by-elections, there's a focus.
You understand?
Because
the violence, you cause violence. Forces are in every part of the country. You can't pull them up to come to one place at a go. So, and even then, there was a very big threat that they didn't want anything to sparkle anything in the central part of the country, which might cause any other havoc. So there was a problem that if there's somebody, let us avoid any havoc in the center. But this is what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to go to that election with both options, losing or winning, but winning without an option of foul play, or failing without, provided one of them is going to be there, then you're going to see blood in that election.
All right. Gentlemen, the three of you sit in parliament, and these institutions that manage elections, that give security during elections, the ones that you're saying are not playing by the book or the rules, report to this institution where the three of you sit. Can't you hold them accountable at that level in order to ensure that the coming elections are not, a replay of what we have been seeing, especially in by-elections?
So what do you do if you came and you got evidence that this person was rigging elections?
Like an example, today, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission was before the Human Rights Committee of Parliament. He was asked questions in relation to what happened in Soroti East.
Exactly, and after recommendations will be made. And after recommendations are made, he could tell us better. What happens after we have come up with recommendations? He's best placed to say that because he's the minister.
Well, we know.
They'll go to cabinet. I think some of them are thrown in the basket. The treasury memorandums are yet to be brought to Parliament.
We respect the decisions taken by Parliament, but there are two forms of decisions. There are those which are advisory, then there are those which have to be implemented, depending. Decisions of Parliament which are rooted in the Constitution are mandatory, but there are those which are advisory recommendations, and we respect what Parliament recommends, and we act on it.
So now imagine you came up with something like you should dismiss the CDF. We
wait.
It's advisory.
It's not a command.
That one falls in the advisory one.
It's advisory, yes. It's not
I
a command.
I think now you've gotten the answer. It is not that we do not legislate
we
on
respect
this.
that recommendation, but then we evaluate it.
Honorable Bariomunsi, you have heard from the two MPs that are here, but you definitely have had very many people raise the issue of the nature, the type of elections we have. And if the elections are supposed to be free and fair, the way these elections are conducted, because we've just spoken about violence, and yes, whereas you seem to accredit this violence to the opposition and fearing of goons, that doesn't take away the violence during the elections.
I condemn violence, whether it's occasioned by the opposition or by the ruling party, because all of us, we aspire to have very clean elections so that the people win on merit, so that the free expression of the will of the people is registered. So really nobody is saying violence is okay. Why my colleagues may want to rush to blame the government or the state, but also it's important also to reflect on your own side. The two colleagues here won parliamentary elections. According to them, it was free and fair in their
No, they have stated the conditions under which they,
General Seba Maraya is saying he deployed enough, therefore he overwhelmed the security. Are you saying if at all we rig, and the state had wanted to rig for the vice president, and you are saying you put there 10,000 agents, and you think they cannot be smashed, if at all it was true that the state machinery does whatever it does to make sure somebody wins? Well, the elections may not be 100% perfect, and maybe 100% perfection, you can only get it in heaven, because I have seen even in America, everywhere, there are always issues. But we strive to continue improving. But it's not true that everywhere where NRM candidates win, it's because there has been rigging, or there has been manipulation of the process, or there has been beating of people, and so forth. It's not correct to think that NRM doesn't have support in this country. It has.
Yes,
it has.
In some places.
But also, usually in elections, if you can successfully be rigged, it means you are very weak. No. On a polling station where, from experiences, where you are very strong, even the strongest government force will not rig you. So also if you keep crying for that we are rigged, it means also you are still weak. The advice I would give to opposition is that if you want to win either presidential level or even get more parliamentary seats, you need to, in addition to these flower boardroom and studio discussions, you must get on the ground and mobilize the people.
Yeah,
for you to think, because Kanungu voted 85% for NRM, we must have rigged. I can tell you, DP never had agents in Kanungu. So how do you expect to get the votes? Even
the agents don't vote. The agents are not the, yes, the agents protect, but
by the time you fail to get the agents, do you think you have voters or supporters? Even FDC, which is the party which has been leading the opposition until recently when Nup took over, could not field enough agents to cover the polling stations. Because are you saying we rig you at the presidential vote, we rig you for parliamentary, rig you for district council levels? How come from president to LC1, NRM dominates and gets a big majority? It also shows you have a lot of work to do to mobilize the Ugandans.
All right.
I can assure you, if Ugandans go to vote and the DP candidate or FDC candidate or NUP gets the majority of votes, he will be declared the president of the country.
All right.
Of the country.
The opposition forces, particularly,
whether they unite or remain.
Yes, I'd like to pick your comment on what the NRM view is on the.
We have no problem whether they remain alone or whether they unite. Actually, if they unite, the better for us. It becomes easier for us to eat them alive. So, but like
I saw that.
This terminology of eating the opposition, finishing them,
politically eating. I don't mean the physical, biological eating, but politically eating them. You had the engineer saying correctly that even the summative total of the votes got by all the opposition presidential candidates could not reach 50% to overturn the voting. So whether you combine or remain alone, I don't think it will be a game changer for the opposition.
Although I want to be quick to say that even when that total was there are some districts that, like the eastern Uganda, where almost all votes were just overturned. Opposition won.
Where?
You won in Mayuge, you won in Buyende, you won in Namayingo and Namutumba. The rest of the districts, the results are flimsy.
No. Where we won, it was declared. Where opposition beat us, it was declared. Because are you saying, like in Uganda, NUP performed well in Uganda at presidential and even parliamentary? Are you saying we didn't have the army and the police and the security to overturn the elections in Uganda here? What I can say, there may be imperfections here and there, but generally speaking, the results of our elections reflect the will of the people. Do you think because if you go by your analysis, if the state didn't want the Honorable Semuju to win, you think they would fail to do it? To go and declare another candidate even when he has 80%?
The other way.
And battle it in the court.
The other way. Are you saying that the state wants Honorable Semuju to win?
No. I'm saying, yes. If he has a majority in the Kira municipality, so be it. He comes to parliament. Like Honorable Mara, if really you think you wanted to rig for people, don't you think we would have invested in the vice president winning? But we left it the people of Masaka, your constituency, to decide the way they want. And the majority have voted for you.
Like you said, sometimes it is so hard to rig.
No.
Sometimes even the way, if you are somebody has...
NRM has never invested in rigging elections. Otherwise, we would post 90% NRM for parliament.
Okay.
If you are saying the machinery goes to crush people.
One of the calls that has been made quite often is for the army, for example, to get out of elections, for the Electoral Commission to take charge, and for the police to support, like the Constitution, states. But when we come to election period, it actually is like the army takes the front, and then the police, follows, and the Electoral Commission then comes last.
Well, that's a genuine call, but you need to examine the trend, like Honorable Samara was saying. Ever since we went into multi-party politics, our politics has increasingly become very belligerent and radicalized with the extremists, especially from the opposition, i.e. FDC, NUP. You have extremist wings in those parties. I wouldn't blame DP.
We had your ID.
Now, the law police actually has the mandate to provide law and order and protect all of us. But the law also allows that they can call on the army to support them.
And so with these extremists, are you saying that the army is called on by the police?
Yes.
During elections?
Yes. And actually the police is the one largely responsible. The army is just having a supportive role. So if we remove this extremism in our politics and we play clean politics, then the army will go back to the barracks.
All right, let's get Honorable Semuju's view.
But where you have people
on
throwing stones, where you have people carrying people from, I don't know how to call the Bugunis again, there's urban supporters.
And somehow the army and the police anticipate this way beyond time.
Yes, because we have seen it grow. As long as we continue to radicalize our politics, then you invite the army to come and support police to query all this mayhem. My plea would be, we remove this extremism, we remove this radicalization, and we create a fair environment where I can compete with Honorable Semuju. We go and address people, and we leave people to decide whom they will vote. But we are not allowing that situation to happen here. We, the politicians,
Honorable Semuju,
before we blame the army.
Maybe deliberately, the Honorable Chris Wariomus choose to debate things that have nothing to do with the elections in Uganda. Elections in Uganda don't start on polling day. For you to begin measuring who has support by the presence or no presence of polling agents. The whole process leading to election sometimes is even more important than the polling day itself.
Always say it's a process, not an event.
The NRM and Mr. Museveni in particular does not allow competition at all. In the last election, because if you read the Presidential Elections Act and the Electoral Commission, presidential candidates are allowed by law to go and consult 1 year to elections. If you want to be a presidential candidate, you go and consult the population. The idea was that because you see there are conditions you must meet before you become a candidate. You're supposed to collect signatures. Just tell me a single presidential candidate that was allowed to consult. The Honorable Chagulanyi to Electoral Commission. He was beaten and told you cannot go and consult. In my own election, parliamentary, I went to the nomination. I was stopped at Chira. I arrived at a nomination center in a police pickup. I was arrested on nomination.
You were told no processions.
The NRM people had a procession. The NRM candidate was competing against
police in accordance with the law, which probably to do.
Chris, you can be annoying because you know these things.
I know. We made the law together in Parliament.
No, but in relation to this last election, it was, COVID-19 restrictions that were being used, and people were told not to have, and therefore there were no exceptions.
So the point you made,
so if the NRM broke the law, you must also break
that COVID. If I am competing with the NRM candidate, and he will be holding rallies and you don't allow me, do you think that is competition? Just next to my house, the NRM came and conducted a meeting.
Because we did follow the Honorable Semuju, and he said the NRM is doing this, therefore I have heard what the Electoral Commission has said, but I'm also going to do it because the NRM is doing it.
Because that's what happened.
Have 200 people.
So the NRM comes to Charwajara, all their candidates are holding a rally. And I said, okay, in fact, I didn't want to hold it in town. I said I hold it at a smaller playground. There were more policemen than people had invited. A day later, after NRM held theirs, I invested heavily in publicity because of the COVID restrictions. SFC came and defaced all the billboards. They came and corrected all the public address system that I had bought and speakers. SFC. Then they brought them at Chira police station and told the DPC never to release them. So I actually found them, they say, no, they will be released after election. When we win, Chris, it is not that we don't go through hell, but sometimes the support will differ. I have had my colleague,
by nature what they are hell.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. That's,
is that what we aspire for?
That's why in my
more than
language,
50 years and
elections are called Obururu, which Obururu
independence.
means
36 years of the NRM, is that where we should be? And is that a position?
No,
that
what I mean
of?
here, it is the fierce competition.
no.
Yes, it is
No, but
always fierce competition.
Is that what happens everywhere?
Yes.
Oh, again, is it because of our history? But let me allow the Honorable Semuju to finish what he's saying.
So therefore, these elections can improve. The process leading to election can improve. The laws we have are very good laws, but they are going to be selectively implemented. And people whose duty it is to implement the law will implement, I mean, they do so in order to advantage NRM. Mr. Museveni can hold a meeting. You remember during election he said there were people waiting for him. I just waved at them. And you all know that these people were brought. The point is, these countries that have had good elections have said this is a cut-off point we need. In the 9th Parliament, when the iPod was a little bit active, we even jointly sponsored bills. Unfortunately, when the bills arrived in Parliament, they received by late Olanya. I think the following day, the Honorable Mamba was Secretary General of NRM, now disowned them. But the idea was that, and Chris, maybe because he was not a participant or selectively chooses to forget, when iPod was formed, the argument was that the lead of opposition and lead of government business will be members, the chief opposition whip and government whip, because that's what Ghana did. When we agree on a matter, that matter should be facilitated through Parliament by these leaders, and that's how they were made to be members. The bills that were brought, they say no, our members disowned them. There was no time. The only time available in the last Parliament was to change the constitution to remove the age limit, because Museveni had become of age according to our constitution. So these things are deliberate.
They removed the upper and the lower, and they said many others benefited.
Yeah, because they didn't want to look ridiculous, but of course they were looking ridiculous. So you can pretend. So the point is, we have had an opportunity to negotiate ourselves out of a crisis. Unfortunately, I think at every stage, Mr. Museveni has failed the country to negotiate itself out of a crisis. The other leaders, Chris may say they have a different history. Yes, because of the history, it is the reason you put the age limit in the constitution. Because of history, it is the reason you put there the term limit. These two things were not put there by Ghana. They were not put in the constitution by Rwanda. It is Mr. Museveni and NRM that put them in the constitution.
Right.
Now,
gentlemen, we have to start bringing this.
Now,
the constitution put chapter 18 that you can amend it
by beating MPs.
Well, if they are in front of whips, they get whipped.
I hope you are not justifying,
No.
the beating of MPs.
No, I am not. I am saying the same constitution provides the chapter 18.
Yes, on
that you
how
can
the
amend
constitution
it. That
can
Ugandans in the future, if they so wish, they can amend any provision, and how you amend those provisions are there. So, and if the majority of Ugandans supported the amendment, so be it. You see politics about numbers. If you fail to marshal numbers in the parliament, you fail to marshal numbers in the country, you don't cry for.
All right. Honorable Semuju, actually, let's come to that, because we need to start bringing this to a close. The numbers. The Honorable Bariomunsi has said this probably twice during the show, that the opposition has not mobilized
You see, that,
in the population.
No, start with the
at the
parliament.
grassroots.
When we amended the constitution, did we rig?
That's a very lazy argument. Mubarak in Egypt won election by 81%. Wasn't he just like a chicken thief? The party that actually went into power after Mubarak did not have a single MP. The Muslim Brotherhood under the Justice Party. because of the conditions under Mubarak, it was very difficult for them to win even one single parliamentary seat. When Mubarak left, a party without a single MP became majority. Ben Ali in Tunisia, he had 91%. Go back to history from Napoleon to Metternich to everybody. The moment you have these sort of elections with Mr. Museveni changing the constitution, unleashing SFC and police, in fact, we are lucky that you can have 1, 2, 3 seats in parliament. And that's what we must be dealing with as a country. You can pretend about it. If you gave me the state and use it the way Museveni is using it, even you will not be an LOC. You will not. So that I have the meter to beat you. And you, Chris, you will be a cancer. You will not. Until these things have been stopped and the country goes through. So in other words, you will be worse than NRM if we give you power. I have said if I'm going to use it, I'm going to use it. I don't aspire to be to be like NRM. That's why I'm saying we need to give this country credible elections. So don't throw the numbers in my face. This ridiculous argument that you don't have the numbers. Did Museveni have them when he went to fight in 1980? His own election, he was defeated in Bara North by Sam Muktesa. Why did he go to fight? He went to fight because the conditions that people went through to campaign under Obote were very difficult. So that's why he went to fight. You're declaring war that so to fight? Why didn't Obote begin throwing numbers in your faces? So I'm saying, I mean, we should care about this country. We should care about this country, Chris. Yes. Today you are a minister. Tomorrow you will not be. Yes, but you see, don't pretend to be the only Ugandan who loves Uganda. Gentlemen, let me ask the two gentlemen. I know you loved Uganda yesterday. You only changed when you became a minister. We shall start questioning whether you're Ugandan. You see, the problem I have with the likes of Semuju, that we went multi-party, and each Ugandan is free to join a party of his or her choice. But the danger with these people, they think if you join NRM, then you are stupid. We carry our heads. We have also brains. And we don't blame you for being in FDC. So you should learn to respect those who have chosen to support Museveni, those who have chosen to be in NRM, the way we respect you in being FDC, the way we respect the engineer being in the DP. But the moment you see, I am sorry, I have nothing against. The Honorable Bet Kamie you are very was arrested criticizing Museveni. Immediately she becomes a minister, she says Museveni is a Jesus. And you want me to respect that person. Today you say Museveni is this. When he appoints you now, he becomes this. You can appreciate better. It means you have surrendered your faculty. I can't respect you. No. Be consistent. You see, like the way Honorable Mao signed the cooperation agreement with the NRM. Now people have to pretend to say he's a villain. He has made a decision. But people who left the FDC or DP and went into NUP, you think they are angels. I think let's be fair. Because we have a right. Today, if I said I'm joining FDC, now, DP, these people will say this man is a hero, he's a patriotic Ugandan. But you remain in the NRM, they say you are a fool, you don't have a brain. I think let's respect people. We just go back to what you said and what you are saying today. Yes. I remember when I was at Monitor, we did write about Professor Poronsiba, and by the way, he was my friend. Yes. In the CA, he was advocating for parties to return. When Parliament was honoring the Political Parties and Organizations Act, he said parties are very divisive. So we brought what he had said in CA and what he was saying now. There is nothing wrong. And then Monta became the problem. There is nothing wrong with changing your mind. Okay. Tomorrow, if you change and become a NUP member or NRM or DP, nobody should begrudge you and say you don't have a brain. Something I'd like to see is you have a justification why you have crossed from wherever you are to another party. If you think it is more progressive than where you are, I don't find any problem with that. But for you to think that everybody must think like you, I think it's not correct. No, Chris, or to think that every Ugandan must think Museveni is a villain. There are those who admire him, who appreciate him. You convince them that you have a better program than what President Museveni is presenting. And the problem with these opposition parties, I think it's just Museveni phobia. You see, even
his arguments and the likes of him are just Museveni-centric. Museveni must go. That should not be an issue.
And you don't see any problem with that?
It is no problem.
That you have someone in power
The only
for 4
way
decades.
the only way he will go
Someone
is
4
if
decades in
if
power.
Ugandans reject him through polls.
Why does he shoot them during elections?
Even you stone them.
Why does he shoot them?
Even you stone them.
Ore-
So what
ore-
you should
ore-
do,
You kill people during elections.
what you should do is to mobilize Ugandans, not to give him a vote. But if he mobilizes better and he wins you, that's democracy.
Honorable Sewamala, your party president has joined cabinet, cooperation agreement, basically, you know, says he's doing this on behalf of, you know, his party.
And on
This-
Monday he had his maiden attendance in the cabinet.
He had his maiden attendance in cabinet. He's also been appearing in parliament. As the opposition, you know, comes to work together on one side, shouldn't, you know, people also be allowed to work with the NRM? Because it can't be good when the opposition is working together, and bad when, you know, someone from the opposition is ready to work with the ruling party.
First and foremost, I am not privy to the cooperation agreement. I don't think.
However, I'm sure you've read the content.
I've read that.
They are real.
You are supposed to support the
have,
NRM positions in the parliament, going by that cooperation agreement. If you didn't know.
I have not been privy to that cooperation agreement. I've been privy to a draft that the former President General of DP said leaked before the signing, but had minor changes. For all I know is he might even have sold the party at a particular cost, and that clause is not in that in that agreement. And as Honorable Chris or the Honorable Minister said that I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to support now NRM positions, and that is
Because I'm sure you saw your party president seated on the government side yesterday as you faced him from the opposite side of
and
the
that
house.
is now and now that is, I think, clause 13, clause 41, and clause 42 of the draft that leaked. Hoping it is true, it was not subject to the minor changes that he spoke.
No. The final
earlier.
document has
Now-
also been is in the public, and
Please.
yes, those clauses
Okay. You
are the
could
ones.
give me a copy of it. Now, if the final document has the same clauses, it is actually, is it prejudice? It is wrong for me having been voted as a Democratic Party member of Parliament on the opposition side, and I go back to the same voters to tell them that no, actually, I'm not standing by the reasons you voted me just a year after I have been voted. So the question of the cooperation agreement is much bigger than just Mao signing with Mao and Siranda signing the agreement with Mr. Museveni. We have voters that brought us to Parliament. These voters voted us with a particular direction and mandate. And I want to
Honorable,
also,
I totally hear you on that. But at the beginning of the show, you applauded the opposition working together.
Yes.
DP and NUP and
Yes.
FDC
Yes.
do not, when you go to your voters, you're not saying the same thing. If you are allowed to work together, shouldn't
Without leaving
people
your
be
party.
allowed to work with the NRM?
And we have not refused Honorable Mao to go and work with the NRM. We are only saying, if you have left Democratic Party, then leave. Give me one person that has stayed in their party and is working with the NRM. You completely leave.
UPC, we have a cooperation with UPC, although we didn't sign in writing. We have a minister in cabinet who is a UPC member. We even had a flag bearer against her in the elections.
And the people. I wanted to say,
There is legal precedence that actually speaks about a situation like that, where members of another political party, even independents, serving in the government, and the courts have been clear on what should happen in those circumstances.
Exactly.
Why it's not happening, we do not
What
know.
did they
Yeah.
say?
Actually, what I'm telling you is, for us, we do not mind Honorable Norbert Mao working for NRM and working for Museveni. Our problem with the cooperation agreement is including us, the parliamentarians, that are not of his food of thought. You understand? We do not think, he did not consult us,
All
and
right.
we do not.
We have to bring this to a close.
So
Just
let
for
him
clarity,
go.
just for clarity, the Honorable Mao said the MPs were consulted. There was a meeting in Africana. I don't know what's special about Africana around the swimming pool. Did you not know about this meeting? Did you not attend that meeting?
I got to know about the meeting, as he mentioned. I arrived as it was ending, and in his ending remarks, this particular issue did not come up.
Okay, all right.
Actually, for us, our only request from Mao is, you have already shown signs of working with the other one. Why don't you go?
All right.
Why leave one foot behind? He's stuck at the door.
Honorable
Why you think that's the
Semuju,
higher?
how can it be good for the opposition parties? Let's Honorable Semuju, how can it be good for the opposition parties to work together? You know, they belong to different parties, and when it is working with the NRM, it is a problem.
These are opposition parties working together.
Let me start with the parliament. The parliament, where I'm an MP, in our rules, the party and government sits on the right hand of the speaker. The rest of the party clustered as opposition sit on the left hand. It is not just a show that they sit here. There is actually physical separation that you sit here, you're not in government.
And in fact, if there's reason for you to sit on the other side, the speaker, you've got to get the permission of the speaker, or else there are certain consequences.
Yes. Any political party has a right to work with any other political party. The moment you process it as an institution and you make a decision that you now want to go and work with NRM, there is absolutely no problem. That will be your decision. There is no way IFDC will decide for another party. Unfortunately, also the debate in Uganda and where we are, I don't know, you don't get the media to hold the political parties to account. The process that people go through to become leaders of those political parties, the media sometimes does not question them. I was in Parliament when Emilio Bote returned here with the body of her late husband. And then there were some people who were sentimental, maybe rightly so, who said she should become the UPC leader. The Honorable late Okule Park, the Honorable Ben Watcher, the Honorable Maratu, but the senior UPC leaders are available. They had the delegates conference, I think, at Christ the King. They didn't allow them to attend. Then a small group sat there and said, Emilio Bote now is a there was a court ruling stopping Akena from being a UPC leader and asserting the leadership of Oraro Tunu. You remember at one time when they were sitting one on 6th floor, another on 7th floor. But Mr. Museveni, and Chris will say I'm obsessed with Mr. Museveni, ordered the Electoral Commission of Chigundu to write a letter to say they recognize Akena. So the people wanted to stand as UPC faced difficulties. Now the institution that is supposed to nominate you has said if you don't come here with a letter from Akena, you are in trouble. One time the Honorable Manya Mushega told me if there is a man in a village who is battering his wife, he will want everybody to do the same. So you can't call him to order. This party of NRM where Chris belongs, all the decisions are taken by one man. These ones are just invited in his sitting room.
Are you sure?
One time they sat here and raised the money to build the headquarters. I don't know where that ended.
They have said that they actually have vibrant discussions in cabinet, and anybody is allowed to give their opinion. It's just after a decision has been made. When you leave, you're bound by collective responsibility.
One time the Honorable James William Chinabe told me he was an MP, ambassador. And he said people who will read the answer of Parliament will have difficulties. That you have the argument against something, but the voting is for something. these NRM people in their meetings, and there was a minister one time advised Mr. Museveni that if you want cabinet to be vibrant, don't come, just sit somewhere and hide. You'll hear people. But when you are present, they are also there captives.
No, but what you have said, the whipping system in a multi-party parliament allows for different ways. You can actually debate, but then you are guided to vote this way, depending on the lines, which, you know, the 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines.
I agree with you. I agree with
so
you.
So it is not abnormal for you to debate freely,
I agree.
And then the party has a position how to vote.
I agree with you.
Yes.
You see, let me finally tell you a story that will answer Chris. I was, as a monitor journalist in Chankwas 2003, when Mr. Museveni said now parties can operate. Every memoranda from a district was saying we don't want parties to operate, but since the majority have said so, they can operate. So I asked myself, who are the majority? Every memoranda, I corrected them, was at Mond. From Rukunjiri, we don't want parties to operate, but since the majority, everybody was saying that. I said, now who is the majority? And do you know who the majority was?
Your guess is as good as mine.
In NRM.
But what do you understand
the role of gentlemen, we need to bring this to a close.
The role of a leader, not leaders.
Gentlemen, we need to bring this to a close. So I'll get each of your parting shots. I will start with the Honorable
Sewamala. Take them in the direction you
want. All right, Honorable Chris Baryomuzi, let's allow the Honorable Sewamala to give his parting shot. And, you know, what should the citizens expect from, you, the leaders? Because, yes, whereas you say this fight is for everybody, it's for the citizens, we look up to our leaders. And we've seen movement, we've seen people come together. What should we expect? Very briefly.
Of course, our citizens, or Uganda citizens and our voters, basically, even if you're not a voter as of yet, you're not of age yet, what you should expect today is to know that it is your responsibility to be aware of what is going on in this country. It is your responsibility to know the Millennium Development Goals. It is your responsibility to know your budget, your 5-year development plan. It is your responsibility to know the direction of this country. It is your responsibility to know what is good for you and what is not good for you. So today, I would love to tell the ruling party and the government at hand that it is time to let the other political parties breathe. It is time to go back to the voters, and then we give them the right voters awareness. I do the right awareness, actually. Because the more we vote, because our voters are between P6 and S3 in the villages, their awareness is very little. They take them money, they take them this, they take them. That's why you're seeing the radicalism. Because they don't know the issues they are voting for. They don't know what they are voting on. They don't know why they are voting these people. For them, actually 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 will make more sense than you know.
We're told in Soroti it was 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000 you can imagine. And somebody is going to private hospitals, private schools, dusty roads, and all that. So it is time for government to let the citizens breathe. It is time for them to go back and give them the proper knowledge, for them to vote the right way, and we have the proper people in parliament.
Okay.
For as long as we have the proper parliamentarians, we have the right parliamentarians in place, even the voting pattern and everything will change.
Can you give me a brief answer? Are you one of the right parliamentarians?
I am.
What of Honorable Baryomuzi?
I don't dispute his
so he also is
his articulation of issues on the floor of parliament.
Okay.
Before and after. Only that what I want them to know, that let's not come up with a precedence of us testing our own medicine.
Okay. Honorable Semuju?
We still have an opportunity because the country hasn't broken down. We have an opportunity to follow the right path. The Ghanaians did it. I think Kenya now has largely sorted itself out. I only pray to the Almighty they go through this election well, and there are no problems after. Tanzania, and even under one party, at least they have changed leaders even within one institution. An opportunity still exists. you will never know how people react. In 1980, it is DP that was cheated, but the person who went to cause mayhem was Museveni. The Chris may look at FDC and NUP and as he said, these are radical groups. You may never know. Please do not tempt the population. An opportunity exists. Everybody who is sane in this country, from religious leaders to people calling themselves elders to international community, have said, please negotiate the end of Museveni. But Mr. Museveni is addicted. He's like his brother Mugabe. He thinks he must die in the State House. If he succeeds, there will be repercussions. Honorable
Norbert Mao says he's gone in to talk about these things, the transition and, yes, a dialogue and a constitutional review commission. Honorable Chris Barrios
talking about and not part of our DP agenda.
There's
a new agenda, sir.
There is no crisis in Uganda. We have set a constitutional and democratic environment where we have vibrant parties, where there is space for competition. For us as NRM, our focus shall remain delivering on our pledges, which we articulated in the manifesto, so that we can satisfy Ugandans with the service delivery. What we have put in place is that for you to ascend to the position of leadership, whether from the president or LC1, you must subject yourself to the will of the people. So these colleagues who are crying for, you have only one route to get those positions, whether president or whichever position, by convincing Ugandans, particularly by giving them alternative policy positions for them to compare with what NRM is giving and what we are proposing. But just shout Museveni, Museveni, Museveni. As long as he remains popular with Ugandans, he will still defeat you. Convince Ugandans that you have a better alternative, that if you were in power, you will do things better than what NRM is doing. Not until you do that. We shall come here, you cry for, we go into elections. As long as people appreciate what NRM is doing, they will keep voting NRM. Right. We have by-elections in Parisa, in Kisoro, in Kasese, and I'm sure when we finish that round, the same colleagues will come here to cry for that we have rigged them. But it's because people appreciate NRM, and I'm certain. And we're going to work very hard to make sure that NRM takes all those positions.
But if there's actual rigging and malpractice, will NRM take action? If there's actual rigging and malpractice, will NRM take action? Okay.
Our position is whoever rigs or breaks the rule,
the radicalism.
We have to end.
Issue
we have to end.
It is NRM.
Whoever breaks the law, whether NRM or opposition, definitely the security and police will take action.
Our time is fast spent. The Honorable Chris Barrios, the Honorable Ibrahim Semujunganda, the Honorable Richard Sewamala, we thank you for being a part of the big debate tonight. The Honorable Chris Barrios says ultimately the Ugandans take the decision. Ugandans, this is your country. You therefore should be interested in the way it is run. We end here for today, but we return next week with another edition of The Big Debate. Till then, continue watching the programming here on CTV. From me and our guests for tonight, it's a good night. God bless you. Don't blink.